everybody. It's Monday.
Yep.
Here we are once again talking about another movie.
Yep, I'm trying to get this shit started. Another week. Another week.
Although at this point, you know, it doesn't really matter because we're just kind of working every day, and so it doesn't really matter what day it is. So the one we're talking about today, this is a Shudder original. They just added it a few days ago, and this is called Anything for Jackson. This came out this year. Now, one of the funniest things about this that I didn't know while I was watching it, but the director, Justyn G. Dyke, I'm not sure if this is his first horror movie, but what he did before doing this movie was he directs those cheesy, like, TV Christmas movies that they make, like, 40 bajillion of, like, every holiday season.
Like on Hallmark Channel?
Yeah, like, stuff like that. Like, A Very Country Christmas and, like, Christmas in Paris and stuff like that. So he was, like, he had done, like, a shit ton of those. But I have to say that if this is his first horror movie, dude, you need to make more horror movies. Because this was, like, I found this movie really entertaining.
It's pretty good.
It's not, it's interesting because, okay, so the setup of it is you have this elderly couple, Henry and Audrey, and they have lost their grandson, Jackson, and their daughter too, like in a terrible car accident. And they apparently can't deal with the grief. So like you do, they decide that they're going to join a satanic cult, kidnap a pregnant woman, and essentially channel Jackson's spirit into the pregnant woman's baby.
They're talking about like a reverse exorcism.
Yeah, that's kind of how they're like pitching this movie.
Yeah. And
like when you say that that's what the premise is, it almost sounds like it's going to be this zany, like over the top comedy, but it's really not. It's not. It doesn't take itself entirely seriously, but it's not like a comedy either. You know what I'm saying? I think it strikes a good balance between having like some actual really creepy shit going on in it. Cause like some of the ghosts, cause what ends up happening is that, you know, the two of them are clearly like kind of out of their league. You know what I mean? Cause they just kind of are dabbling in it, I suppose. And what ends up happening is that while they're doing the rituals and shit, they don't really do them right. So they get like all these other demons, like essentially they're opening up like a portal and like all these other kind of demons and ghosts and shit like wander through. So all this like crazy shit starts happening around their house. But like some of the other like spirits and stuff that they put in this, like the woman with the like floss in her teeth and the dude, like the contortionist dude, like with the bag on his head that was like, they were like really, really creepy. And they really did a good job. Like
that dude needs an Oscar right there, just the contortionist dude.
Because that did not look like CGI.
I think it's. I don't
think that was CGI.
I think it was a real guy. He's walking on all fours but backwards with his head. It looked good.
I thought it looked really good too.
Yeah, it looked creepy.
Like I said, it really did not.
He had a plastic
look
bag over his head like he was suffocating.
Yeah, and it's like, and I almost kind of like that they don't really explain, like, cause like I said, it's they opened a portal and like all this shit like starts wandering through because they didn't really know if they were
people and shit.
Yeah, so I think this came out really good because it's almost kind of like because it's an old couple at the, you know, who are like the villains, but they're also like really sympathetic because they.
Well, kind
of sympathetic. I mean, well, because you can understand, like, yeah, what they're doing is, like, crazy as shit. But you can understand why, because they're clearly, like, you know, grieving a lot, like, losing their grandson. You know, not saying what they did was cool or anything, but they seem, like, a lot nice. It's almost kind of like the Castavets from Rosemary's Baby, but not as, like, not as straight up evil as that, and not, like, as obnoxious as that, because these seem like just very kindly old people. They don't seem like sinister in any way.
Yeah, what they're doing is pretty fucking bad, though.
It is, well, obviously.
Yeah. I know you liked the movie. I liked it okay, too, but there's just something about some of these newer movies where it's just all kinds of generic movie-like stuff. They start to kind of blur together. You know what I'm talking about? There's a lot of movies that are like this.
Yeah.
It does have a different spin to it, but...
Yeah.
All in all, for me, this one, it really didn't rise to the fucking level of where it'd be real memorable. That's just me. Maybe it had to do with mindset of watching it at the time. It wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah.
It was just kind of mediocre in a certain ways. But you know what? I'm not singling this movie out. They're all kind of, or most of them are kind of like that to me now. Just gonna say, from this era, and maybe they were always kind of like that. Most movies were mediocre, but I don't know. There's just something about it that didn't really catch me that much.
I don't know. I really like I said, it wasn't my favorite one that I've seen recently, but I really liked the different take on it. Like, because there's like a lot of exorcism movies, but I liked kind of the different take on it. I like that it had like a little bit of a dark comedy kind of edge, but not like in a real overt way.
I think it has something to do with the way that they look. They all kind of look alike to me. Like,
I
Mandy
guess.
looked very different. That movie Mandy, that one stuck out. You know, that one was immediately
Well, yeah, because
memorable.
that was like a visual.
Right. And to me, a lot of these horror movies, visually, they just look a lot, they're like the same movie.
Well,
me.
just like everything else, there's trends in filmmaking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can usually, like, if you see like a horror movie from the 90s, you can
They
usually
all kinda
tell.
look like that,
yeah,
right?
like all the filters or lighting or whatever that they use, because things go in and out of fashion. So maybe it's just that, it's just kind of like a trend of like, let's make, the movie look like this.
The architecture, the color palettes, just, you know what I mean? The lighting, the shot composition, they're all just kind of looking alike to me.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I think that might have come about because of the success of the Conjuring universe. Because
Maybe.
I feel like
that's what they kind
once
of
the
like.
Conjuring came out and it was like this massive success and spawned this big franchise and everything, I think a lot of other lower budget like supernatural type movies tried to kind of mimic that look.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think maybe this. I'm not sure because it might have been becoming prevalent before that.
I wasn't really thinking about it too much while I was watching the movie. It's now that I'm done seeing it, looking back on it. They're, you know what I mean. After a few days, they start to kind of blend in together to be kind of the same.
Yeah.
I start to get them kind of confused, and I think it's because visually they all look alike.
Because they're similar looking.
They're similar looking, I think.
Yeah,
so,
I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It does seem like a lot of like ghost story. And like I said, when, maybe we talked about this. I don't remember if we talked about this a little bit when I was talking about that Spanish one that we watched the other day. But, even though I really do like these movies, it does take a lot I see like a lot of horror movies. So even though I like a lot of them when I see them, like sometimes like a year later, I can't remember.
Yeah. Like remember that Hansel and Gretel?
Yeah.
Or Gretel and Hansel,
whatever
they fucking
that we
call
saw
it.
in the theater.
Yeah, that movie was just piece of shit. All right. But visually, I thought it was great. I can remember it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it looked different.
It looked very different, and just the way the witch's house looked and the shit that the witch did, and I can remember it. You know what I mean? It did have its own identity. And I kind of had a positive feeling about the way that it looked.
About how it looked,
and I wanted more scenes with just the witch. I didn't give a shit about the kids or the woodsman or the mom or the family. You know what I mean? But the witch and the witch's house, cool. I liked. And just some of the shit that witch did down in the basement and stuff. So the way a movie looks has a lot to do with it for me.
Yeah.
It's very visual,
Yeah.
I thought Gretel and Hansel was a piece of shit movie, but the witch in it was fucking great, the way it looked.
That was the same chick that was in Ghost Story, like way back in the day. Alice Creed, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, however you pronounce it. She was on one of the Star Wars or Star Trek.
But the writing of that movie, think of that Gretel and Hansel. The writing of that movie was just very disjointed, and it had a fucking terrible flow to it, and it just wasn't interesting.
But I really did like her as a witch. And honestly, I wonder if anybody's done this, because I know they've done like a lot of Hansel and Gretel adaptations and other kind of fairy tale adaptations. I'd be interested to know if anybody pulled like a Wicked, where they made like a whole thing about the Wicked Witch of the West. But if they did that with the witch from Hansel and Gretel, like with the candy house and all that kind of shit, because I would totally watch that. But I feel like, I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of movie that you're making. Sometimes I like, just the dark, like colorless kind of look, because sometimes that works. But honestly, sometimes I think you're right. I think maybe it would be better if like some movies were more colorful or had more of like a distinctive
right
look to them.
Yeah. this one it looked very generic. And for me, film, of course, is a visual medium. You know what I mean? It has to have it can't look realistic. That's the thing. I think it started with the Haunting universe. It looked like something you shot out of your cell phone in a certain way. Not really, a little bit more corporate than that, but it's not a very vibrant feel to anything. Muted colors and stuff.
And like I said, I do feel like that's a trend.
Yeah.
Just because, it seems like people think that makes it scarier.
Yeah.
Like, I guess if it's like dark and kind of grayish blue or something.
Yeah, not with me.
It's just kind of like, you remember, this maybe was 90s or 2000s where everything was either like blue filter or orange filter.
Right, yeah.
Or it went back and forth between the two things. I feel like that was maybe like an early 2000s thing where like all the movies had that like color tinge to them.
Somehow you got to get emotion across. You know what I mean? With film. That's why I fucking talked about Mandy. Mandy, the story isn't complicated, but man, there's a whole hell of a lot of emotion, and it kind of brings it across visually. Everything is like a Frank Frazetta acid trip.
Yeah.
You know what
like
I mean?
Everything looks like a painting.
Yeah, and everything's all distorted and stuff, and just the way the people act, it's kind of distorted, and you're like, man, that was like a masterpiece, I thought.
Well, it's kind of going back to like the expressionist films where they're trying to show like people's emotions and psychosis like through the exterior,
lens. Like you're there, like you're having the experience. It's almost like first person, and you're getting the emotions too. That's what I would say. That's all I'm going to say about this movie in terms of it's not a bad movie, but it's definitely a movie of its time. You know what I mean? It's kind of. And I'm kind of getting sick of this. You know what I mean? I like a little more variation in things.
Yeah. I did really like this one. And like I said, I like that it wasn't that long. It didn't like fart around with a lot of stuff. Like the girl gets kidnapped like in the first like 2 or 3 minutes of the movie. And they kind of set it up. I really, really like the performances of the elderly couple. It's weird because like the dude that plays Henry, who is an obstetrician, that's how he knew about the pregnant woman because she was his patient, is played by Julian Richings. And the whole time I'm looking at him going, God damn it, I've seen that dude in movies before and I couldn't place him. So I had to go to his like IMDb page. He's been like in a bunch of shit, but I think that I'm remembering him from A Christmas Horror Story because I just saw that not too long ago. And he was also in The Witch, and he was in... The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Lee, which actually I think that's like one of the editors from Rue Morgue magazine. That was like his movie. And I actually really, really liked that one. That might be on Shudder as well, or it might be on Netflix. I saw that one about a year ago.
I mean, some cool shit happens in the movie. Dude fucking throws himself into a snowblower. That was pretty cool, you know.
Yeah, I liked that.
People shoot themselves. It's
over and over again.
Yeah, because you never know when a demon might possess you and get you to do something stupid, you know. There's... It does have some good aspects, you know. It's not a bad movie. Like I said, it lacks visual style for me. Yeah, that's all.
But really. I mean, other than that, I actually really liked this movie, and it was one that stood out to me, like just from a story point of view, because they were kind of doing something a little bit different. You know what I mean? Like with the possession thing. Like I said, it's almost kind of like they took the Castevets from Rosemary's Baby and were making shit from their point of view, but made them like less psychotic and more sympathetic, more understandable, like why they were doing what they were doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because the Castevets were just Satanists. They didn't have like any, I don't think they had any excuses to like why they were doing the shit they were doing. But yeah, so it's on Shudder. If you want to watch it, if you like possession movies, you like evil old people movies, any kind of shit like that, then by all means check it out, because I don't know, I really liked it. I can see what you're saying about the visual thing.
Yeah, because you talking about the evil old people, and it just kind of reminded me what it reminded me. Remember the one about the evil old people and the woman who I guess she had Alzheimer's. Maybe she was pretending that she was having Alzheimer's. Remember that one? Which one? Kind of reminded me of that movie. I don't know. It was a movie like this. That's all I can say. Remember that they were in there. It was in England, and they were robbing the house.
Oh yeah.
And then the old people came home, and but it turned out the old people were more evil than the robbers.
Yeah, and I said that movie was actually not bad, but that movie reminded me straight up of Lucio Fulci's House of Clocks.
Yeah, well, visually and everything, that movie reminded me of this, or this movie reminded me also of that movie, which also kind of reminds me of the other movies. That was a British movie.
I think that was a British movie.
There's just something about the color palettes and the way this stuff is shot where it's all starting to look alike.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Although I will say, and don't spoil it, but the movie that we're going to review tomorrow, which is one that's like actually a couple of years old, definitely does not suffer from that.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know if you know which one I'm talking about. Okay.
I'll remember it later.
I'm excited to talk about it because we
watched so many of them.
The movie that we're gonna review tomorrow is like I'm really, really excited about. Yeah. So I'm just surprised that I didn't see it until now because it's like a few years old. But yeah, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. But like I said, I'll keep it a secret. All right, so gonna cut it a little bit short today, I guess. Although we've been going for 20 minutes, so it's not too bad. All right, so we'll be back tomorrow with another movie review. And thanks for stopping by as always. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.